addict.
Hi, everybody. My name's Scott. I'm an addict from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi, Scott.
How's everybody doing? Who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking is centered in drugs in one form or another, the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We use to live and live to use. Very simply, an addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death.
Thanks, Scott. I'd like to ask John to come up here and read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.
Hi, everybody. My name is John. I'm a recovering addict from Pennsylvania.
Hi, John.
What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is the nonprofit fellowship for society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other succeed. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership: the honest desire to stop using. There are no musts in NA, but we suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organization. We have no leaders, no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, color, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you use or who your connections were. What you have done in the past, how much of really you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person because it's the most people we have that give it away. We have learned from our first experience that those who keep coming for our meetings for influence, they can leave.
Thank you, John. I'd like to ask Abe to come up and read for us how it works in 12 steps. Hi, everybody. My name's Abe, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. How it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are suggested only, but they are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order, and we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicted in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is only one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. Although there are no musts in NA, there are 3 things that seem indispensable. These are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. With these, we are well on our way. Thank you, Ed. I'd like to ask Wendy to come up and read the 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous.
Hi, my name's Wendy, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. Hi, family. The 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance. And just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. 3. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6. An NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. These problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. NA has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. Every mind does place principles before personalities.
Thank you, Wendy. I'd like to take a few minutes now to read from our basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, Chapter 7, which is titled Recovery and Relapse. Many consider continuous abstinence and recovery as noteworthy and therefore synonymous, while relapsers are sort of pushed aside, or worse yet, used as statistics that in no way give a true picture of the entire addiction pattern. We in the recovery program of Narcotics Anonymous have noted with some satisfaction that many of the relapsers, when again active in the prime or substitute addiction, have dropped many of the parallel behaviors that characterized them in the past. This change alone is significant to us. Honesty of a kind has penetrated their character. Yet there are others, completely abstinent, whose dishonesties and self-deceit still prevent them from enjoying complete recovery and acceptance within society. Continuous abstinence, however, is still the best ground for growth. In close association and identification with others in NA groups, our chances for recovery and complete freedom in a changing and creative form are enhanced 100-fold. Although all addicts are basically the same in kind, we do as individuals differ in degree of sickness and rate of recovery. There may be times when a relapse lays the groundwork for complete freedom. At other times, only by a grim and obstinate willfulness to hang on to abstinence come hell or high water until a crisis passes can that freedom be achieved. An addict who by any means can lose even for a time the need or desire to use and has free choice over impulsive thinking and compulsive action has reached a turning point that may be the decisive factor in his recovery. The feeling of true independence and freedom hangs here at times in the balance. To step out alone and run our own lives again draws us, yet we seem to know that what we have has come from a power greater than ourselves, and the giving and receiving of help from others in acts of empathy. Many times in our recovery, the old bugaboos will haunt us. Life may again become meaningless, monotonous, and boring. We may tire mentally in repeating our new ideas and tire physically in our new activities, yet we know that if we fail to repeat them, we will surely take up our old practices. We suspect that if we do not use what we have, we will lose what we have. These times are often the periods of our greatest growth. Our minds and bodies seem tired of it all, yet the dynamic forces of change or true conversion deep within may be working to give us the answers that alter our inner motivations and change our lives. Quality and not quantity is the most important aspect of abstinence. Emotional sobriety, in reality, is our goal, not mere physical abstinence. To improve ourselves takes effort, and since there is no way in the world to graft a new idea on a closed mind, an opening must be made somehow. Since we can do this only for ourselves, we need to recognize two of our seemingly inherent enemies, apathy and procrastination. Our resistance to change seems built in, and only a nuclear blast of some type will bring about any alteration or initiate another course of action. A relapse may provide the charge for the demolition process. A relapse and sometimes subsequent death of someone close to us can do the job of awakening us to the necessity for vigorous personal action. We have seen addicts come to our fellowship, try our program, and stay clean for a period of time. They lost contact with other recovering addicts and eventually returned to active addiction. They forgot that it is really the first fix, pill, drink, snort, or toke that starts the deadly cycle all over again. They tried to control it, to use in moderation, or to use just certain drugs. None of these worked for them. Relapse is a reality. It can and does happen. Experience shows that those who do not work our program of recovery on a daily basis may relapse. We see them come back seeking recovery. Maybe they were clean for years before their relapse. If they are lucky enough to make it back, they're shaken badly. They tell us that the relapse was more horrible than before they first found NA. We have never seen a person relapse who lives the Narcotics Anonymous program. Relapses are often fatal. We have attended funerals of loved ones who died from a relapse. They died in various ways. Other times we see relapsers lost for years, living in misery. Those who make it to jail or institutions may survive longer and perhaps have a reintroduction to NA. In our daily lives, we are subject to emotional and spiritual lapses, causing us to become defenseless against the physical relapse of drug use. As an incurable disease, drug addiction is subject to relapse. We are never forced into relapse. We are given a choice. Relapse is never an accident. Relapse is a sign that we have had a reservation in our program. We slighted our program and left loopholes in our daily lives. Unaware of the pitfalls ahead, we stumbled blindly on in the belief we could make it on our own. Sooner or later, we fell back into the illusions that drugs would make life easier. We believed that drugs would change us, and we forgot that these changes are lethal. When we believe that drugs will solve our problems and forget what they can do to us, we are in real trouble. Unless the illusions are shattered that we, in any way, can continue to use or stop using on our own, we most certainly sign our own death warrant. For some reason, not taking care of our personal affairs lowers our self-esteem, and that sets up a pattern that repeats itself in all areas of our lives. If we begin to avoid our new responsibilities by missing meetings, neglecting 12-step work, or not getting involved, our program stops. These are the kinds of things that lead to relapse. We may sense a change coming over us. Our ability to remain open-minded disappears. We may become angry and resentful toward anyone or anything. We may begin to reject those who are close to us. We isolate ourselves. We become sick of ourselves in a short time. We revert back to our sickest behavior patterns without even having to use drugs. When a resentment or any other emotional upheaval occurs, failure to practice the steps can result in a relapse. Obsessive behavior is a common denominator for addictive people. We have times when we try to fill ourselves up until we are satisfied, only to discover that there is no way to satisfy us. Part of our addictive pattern is that we can never get enough of whatever we think we want. Sometimes we forget and we think that if we can just get enough food or enough sex or enough money, we'll be satisfied and everything will be all right. Self-will still leads us to make decisions based on manipulation, ego, lust, or false pride. We don't like to be wrong. Our egos tell us that we can do it on our own, but loneliness and paranoia quickly return. We find that we cannot really do it alone, and when we try, things get worse. We need to be reminded of where we came from and that it will get progressively worse if we use. This is when we need the fellowship the most. We don't recover overnight. When we realize that we have made a bad judgment, our inclination is to make an attempt to rationalize it. We often become extreme in our self-obsessive attempt to cover our tracks. We forget we have a choice today. We get sicker. There is something in our self-destructive personalities that cries for failure. Most of us feel that we do not deserve to succeed. This is a common theme with addicts. Self-pity is one of the most destructive of defects. It'll drain us of all positive energy. We focus on anything that isn't going our way and ignore all the beauty in our lives. With no real desire to improve our lives or even to live, we just keep going further and further down, some of us never making it back. We must relearn many things that we have forgotten and develop a new approach to life if we are to survive. This is what Narcotics Anonymous is all about. It is about people who care about desperate, dying addicts and who can, in time, teach them how to live without drugs. Many of us had difficulty coming into the fellowship because we did not understand that we have the disease of addiction. We sometimes see our past behavior as part of ourselves and not part of our disease. We take the first step. We admit we are powerless over our addiction. Their lives have become unmanageable. Slowly, things get better and we start getting our confidence back. Our ego tells us we can do it on our own. Things are getting better, and we think we really don't need this program. Cockiness is a red light indicator. The loneliness and paranoia will come back. We find out we can't do it on our own, and things get worse. We really take that first step, this time internally.
There will be times, however, when we really feel like using. We want to run and we want to feel lousy. We need to be reminded of where we came from and that it will be worse this time. This is when we need the program the most. We realize we must do something. When we forget the effort and work it took us to get to a period of freedom in our lives, lack of gratitude sinks in and self-destruction begins again. Unless action is taken immediately, we run the risk of a relapse, which threatens our very existence. Keeping our illusion of reality, rather than using the tools of the program, will return us to isolation. Loneliness will kill us inside, and the drugs, which almost always come next, may do the job completely. The symptoms and the feelings we experienced at the end of our using will come back even stronger than before. This impact is sure to destroy us if we don't surrender ourselves to the NA program. Relapse can be the destructive force that kills us or leads us to the realization of who and what we really are. The eventual misery of using is not worth the temporary escape it might give us. For us, to use is to die, often in more ways than one. One of the biggest stumbling blocks seems to be in placing unrealistic expectations on ourselves or others. Relationships can be a terribly painful area. We tend to fantasize and project what will happen. We get angry and resentful if our fantasies are not fulfilled. We forget that we are powerless over other people. The old thinking and feelings of loneliness, despair, helplessness, and self-pity creep in. Thoughts of sponsors, meetings, literature, and all other positive input leave our consciousness. We have to keep our recovery first and our priorities in order. Writing about what we want, what we are asking for, and what we get, and sharing this with our sponsor or another trusted person helps us to work through negative feelings. Letting others share with us about their experience gives us hope that it does get better. It seems that being powerless is a huge stumbling block. When a need arises for us to admit our powerlessness, we may first look for ways to exert power against it. Exhausting these ways, we begin sharing with others and find hope. Attending meetings daily, living a day at a time, and reading literature seems to send our mental attitude back toward the positive. Willingness to try what has worked for others is vital. Even when we feel that we don't want to attend, meetings are a source of strength and hope for us. It is important to share our feelings of wanting to use drugs. It is amazing how often newcomers think that it is really abnormal for a drug addict to want to use. When we feel the old urges come over us, we think there must be something wrong with us, and that other people in Narcotics Anonymous couldn't possibly understand. It's important to remember that the desire to use will pass. We never have to use again, no matter how we feel. All feelings will eventually pass. The progression of recovery is a continuous uphill journey. Without effort, we start the downhill run again. The progression of the disease is an ongoing process, even during abstinence. We come here powerless, and the power we seek comes to us through our other people in Narcotics Anonymous, but we must reach out for it. Now, clean and in the fellowship, we need to keep ourselves surrounded by others who know us well. We need each other. Narcotics Anonymous is a fellowship of survival, and one of its advantages is that it places us in intimate, regular contact with the very people who can best understand and help us in our recovery. Good ideas and good intentions do not help if we fail to put them into action. Reaching out is the beginning of the struggle that will set us free. It'll break down the walls that imprison us. A symptom of our disease is alienation, and honest sharing will free us to recover. We are grateful that we were made so welcome at meetings that we felt comfortable. Without staying clean and coming to those meetings, we would surely have had a rougher time with the steps. Just one fix, pill, drink, snort, or toke will interrupt the process of recovery. We all find that the feeling we get from helping others motivate us to do better in our own lives. If we are hurting, and most of us do from time to time, we learn to ask for help. We find that pain shared is pain lessened. Members of the fellowship are willing to help a relapser recover and have insight and useful suggestions to offer when asked. Recovery found in Narcotics Anonymous must come from within, and no one stays clean for anyone but themselves. In our disease, we are dealing with a destructive, at times violent, power greater than ourselves that can lead to relapse. If we have relapsed, it is important to keep in mind that we must get back to meetings as soon as possible. Otherwise, we may have only months, days, or hours before we reach a threshold where we are gone beyond recall. Our disease is so cunning that it can get us into impossible situations. When it does, we come back to the program if we can, while we can. Once we use, we are under the control of our disease. We never fully recover, no matter how long we've been clean. Complacency is the enemy of members with substantial clean time. If we remain complacent for long, the recovery process ceases. The disease will manifest apparent symptoms in us. Denial returns, along with obsession and compulsion. Guilt, remorse, fear, and pride may become unbearable. Soon we reach a place where our backs are against the wall. Denial and the first step conflict in our minds. If we let the obsession of using overcome us, we are doomed. Only a complete and total acceptance of the first step can save us. We must totally surrender ourselves to the program. The first thing to do is to get clean. This makes the other stages of recovery possible. As long as we stay clean no matter what, we have the greatest possible advantage over our disease. For this, we are grateful. Many of us get clean in a protected environment such as a rehab center or recovery house. When re-entering the world, we feel lost, confused, and vulnerable. Going to meetings as often as available will reduce the shock of change. Meetings provide a safe place to share with others during this time. We begin to live the program. We learn to apply spiritual principles in our lives. We must use what we learn or we will lose it in a relapse. Many of us would have had nowhere else to go if we could not have trusted NA groups and members. At first, we were both captivated and intimidated by the fellowship. No longer comfortable with our using friends, we were not yet at home in the meetings. We began to lose our fear through the experience of sharing. The more we did this, the more our fear slipped away. We shared for this reason. Growth means change. Spiritual maintenance means ongoing recovery, and isolation is dangerous to spiritual growth. Those of us who find the fellowship and begin to live the steps develop some kind of relationship with others. As we grow, we learn to overcome the tendency to run and hide from ourselves and our feelings. Being honest about our feelings helps others to identify with us. We find that when we communicate honestly, we reach others better. Honesty takes practice, and none of us claims to be perfect. When we feel trapped or pressured, it takes great spiritual and emotional strength to be honest. Sharing with others keeps us from feeling isolated and alone. This process is a creative action of the Spirit. When we work the program, we are living the steps daily. This gives us experience in applying spiritual principles. The experience we gain with time helps our ongoing recovery. We must use what we learn or we will lose it, no matter how long we have been clean. Eventually, we are shown that we must get honest or we will use again. We pray for willingness and humility and finally get honest about our mistaken judgments or bad decisions. We tell those who we hurt that we were to blame and make whatever amends are necessary. Now we are in the solution again. We are working the program. It becomes easier to work the program now. We know that the steps help prevent relapse. Relapsers may also fall into another trap. We may doubt that we can stop using and stay clean. We can never stay clean on our own. Frustrated, we cry, "I can't do it." We beat ourselves as we come back into the program. We imagine that our fellow members will not respect the courage it takes to come back. We have learned the utmost respect for that type of courage. We applaud heartily. It is not shameful to relapse. The shame is in not coming back. We must smash the illusion that we can do it alone. Another type of relapser does not keep being clean as top priority. Staying clean must always come first. At times, we all experience difficulty in our recovery. Emotional lapses result from not putting into practice what we've learned. Those who make it through these times show a courage not their own. After coming through one of these periods, we can readily agree that it is always darkest before the dawn. Once we get through a difficult time clean, we're given a tool of recovery that we can use again and again. If we relapse, we may feel guilt and embarrassment. Our relapse is embarrassing, but we cannot save our face and our ass at the same time. We find it best to get back on the program as soon as possible. It's better to swallow our pride than to die or go permanently insane. As long as we maintain an attitude of being thankful for being clean, we find it is easier to remain clean. The best way to express gratitude is by carrying the message of our experience, strength, and hope to the still suffering addict. We are ready to work with any suffering addict. Living the program on a daily basis provides many valuable experiences. If we are plagued by an obsession to use, experience has taught us to call a fellow recovering addict and to get to a meeting. Using addicts are self-centered, angry, frightened, and lonely people. In recovery, we experience spiritual growth. While using, we were dishonest, self-seeking, and often institutionalized. The program allows us to become responsible and productive members of society. As we begin to function in society, our creative freedom helps us sort our priorities and do the basic things first. Daily practice of our 12-step program enables us to change from what we were to what our higher power would have us become. With the help of our sponsor or spiritual advisor, gradually we learn to trust and depend on our higher power as we understand it. As I said before, my name is Rich, and I am a recovering drug addict. I'm very grateful to be here today. And as chairman of this recovery and relapse workshop here, I'd like to qualify myself, hopefully briefly, and kind of let you know a little bit about my experiences with recovery and relapse. And I like the way it's titled to begin with, because for me that's how it worked. You know, I got recovery, I relapsed, and I'm very grateful to have been given a second chance at this fellowship. I'm undeserving of that chance, you know, and I believe that. You know, I don't deserve to be here. You know, if I got what I deserved, none of us would want to be in this room. I firmly believe that, you know, because my higher power gave me what I really deserved. None of us would be here. But I'm grateful that my higher power doesn't work that way. He's not a vengeful higher power today. You know, I have a God that I understand to be forgiving. And my higher power saw me through a lot through my recovery the first time around. Helped me to find my way back into this fellowship and takes care of my needs today. I'm not going to share much about my addiction because that's not what this meeting's about. I qualify as an addict. I used and abused chemicals for a long time. It created a hell of a lot of problems in my life, and I'm grateful that I found a program of recovery that works today for me called Narcotics Anonymous. When I first came around the fellowship, back almost 9 years ago, I was struggling like hell to try to change my life. I was really confused. I didn't know what kind of problem I had. I just knew damn well I had problems, you know. I started realizing it's not normal to spend, you know, half of your life in jail, you know, the other half of your life waiting to go back, you know. I didn't know what it was like to be free, you know. That didn't enter into my vocabulary after the age of about 16. You know, I thought it was always going to be like, you know, POs watching over my shoulder, you know, running down the street, you know, looking for the cop man and you know, trying to get over, you know, and I never expected to live long, but I figured I'd live hard and fast and have a good life. It didn't work out that way. I ended up, you know, burning out real early and trying to find some kind of a program that would work. At the time in my area, back in Pennsylvania, there wasn't much help available for drug addicts. I found myself struggling through another 12-step program that worked for a lot of people, and I was trying to make it work for me. Being dually addicted, I you know, could take care of one part of my addiction with no problem, but I found myself struggling like hell with the other half. You know, I found myself going to meetings high, you know, and justifying the hell out of it, you know, figuring I'm doing better, you know, I'm better than I was yesterday. You know, at least I haven't drank today. You know, that was enough at the time, you know, I believed. Because that's what I was told. That's all I needed to do was just to stay sober today. It wasn't working. My life was still surely unmanageable, you know. I couldn't see no way to turn that around. You know, I couldn't get in touch with any of those other steps, you know. I was still struggling with that first one, trying to understand it. I couldn't get too far. But fortunately, you know, I was shown the way into another, you know, recovery program called Narcotics Anonymous, and went away to a rehabilitation center, learned about it, came back, helped form a few groups in our area. Got real involved, started working the program, you know, got a little bit of time together, real clean time, you know, abstinent from everything. And at that time, you know, we considered everything a drug. We didn't care what it was. It looked like a pill. We didn't take it. But I, you know, hung around for a while, you know, struggling, you know, working the steps, you know, depending on other people to keep me clean, you know, because I sure as hell couldn't do it. I didn't have any answers, you know, and I was turning to you people to do that. I, you know, started reading the few pamphlets we had available and started turning to my sponsor and found that after a year's time, there was a need for change in my life, you know, if I was going to stay clean. That service was that change that I might need, you know, that's what I was told, and I started listening. I was getting tired of dumping ashtrays, you know, I was getting tired of making coffee. I felt, hey, I can handle something a little heavier than that, you know. Why don't you let me chair one of them damn meetings or something, you know. I think I'm ready. And they did, you know, and I got this fever, you know, started burning, you know. I didn't know about it at the time, you know, but it was a little thing called ego, I guess, you know, and kind of got carried away with it. That was my nemesis, I guess, for a while, you know, and it started slow, you know, and there was probably a hell of a lot of indications, but I was too blind to see them. And at the time, you know, there wasn't a lot of stuff available to tell us about that stuff, you know, and a lot of people in my area was like getting little glimpses of Rich going down the wrong way, but couldn't put their finger on it. Started taking on, you know, service positions and becoming trusted servants of, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups, you know. That's okay, I can handle it, you know, I won't burn out. You need somebody for that position, right here I am, you know, I'll handle it. I can handle it today. I need involvement, you know, and I need to help, and you know, what I needed was a good swift kick in the ass and told to like work the steps, you know. I was more interested in the traditions, you know, and I was more interested in helping the other addicts, you know. What ended up after 3 years, I started changing my program from being a recovering drug addict to being recovered. And I found out that it doesn't work that way. I was looking for that diploma, I guess, maybe in the back of my mind, you know, the day when I could say, you know, I graduated from this fellowship. Now I can go out and teach everybody in the world, you know, how to get clean. You know, I thought that was my mission. I was a sick cookie back then. I was abstinent for 3.5 years total, you know, when situations just arise that I couldn't handle. And being a dope fiend, you know, still remembering, you know, where the connections were, you know, not cutting those little cords, you know, keeping the back door open a little bit, you know. I found the route back to relapse, you know, what was pretty short. It took me a matter of 3 days to find my way back into a total addiction, you know. 3 days after I picked up my first chemical, I found myself back to where I was 3.5 years ago, real quick. Because it was a Friday night, you know, and I had gotten away with it for 2 days, and I sure as hell wasn't in jail, you know. I wasn't in a mental institution, I wasn't dead, you know. What the fuck were these people talking about, you know? You know, maybe they were like leading me the wrong way. I think I can handle a weekend binge, you know. That weekend binge only lasted 6 weeks, you know. I found myself back in the jail cell that I was in a few years prior, wondering how the hell did I get here, you know, finding out that I'd lost everything, you know, literally everything, except for one thing that I had left was me. I was trying to get in touch with that, and it didn't matter, you know, because like I didn't think that me was worth anything at that point. I figured it was all over. I figured, well, I blew that last chance that they gave me, you know, those people that were trying to help me. I walked away from them, you know, and I don't think I can ever go through what I went through that first 3.5 years. I kept telling myself that, you know, and I was having a hard time struggling with it. Until finally I got in touch with, today I call it a spiritual awakening, and then I didn't know what the hell it was. I just felt an awful urge not to use, you know, no matter what happened. And I started humbling myself and saying help. You know, I went away to another treatment center and came out of there really jammed up, not knowing where to turn, you know. I had this other big problem, you know, and that problem was false pride, you know. Boy, I had a hell of a problem with that sucker, you know. I had this sponsor, you know, that I had gotten close to, and I had put up on this here thing called a pedestal, you know, and, you know, I used him for my higher power for a long time. It worked in the beginning, you know, but I tried to use him too long, I guess, you know. And I was afraid of him, you know. I was like, he was one of them, and they're fearful gods, you know. And I was afraid of going back and being told, I told you what was going to happen, you know. I figured, like, man, I'm going to see darts and daggers and everything else when I walk through the doors of NA, you know. So I remember this other fellowship, you know, from way back, you know. I figured, well, you know, I know all about NA and I know all about drug recovery, you know, through the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship, you know. You know, maybe I can just go to meetings and be around people and things will work out. And I tried that for 2 years, you know, coming back, because I was too damn stupid, you know, to realize where I belonged, I guess, you know, to take that first step, and that's all it would have took was that first step, you know, to walk back through the doors of NA. I struggled and suffered through another fellowship and found myself, you know, staying dry, clean, whatever term, you know, anybody wanted to tag it with, you know, abstinent is what I like to use. You know, I didn't pick up any chemicals, but I sure as hell became addicted again, you know. All my addictions started taking hold, and I found myself actually it was about a week before my second anniversary clean, you know, this time around, you know, my second chance. I found myself back in jail, clean, you know. And man, that was a hell of a cold slap in the face, you know, when I found myself back there clean, because all the other times I could easily blame it on the chemicals, you know. It was the chemicals that did it, you know. If I wasn't high, I wouldn't have been in jail, you know, let's face it, you know, because every time I went to jail, I was high before, you know. This time I was clean, and I'm still back in jail. I couldn't figure that out for shit, you know. And I figured, well, you know, maybe I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know what to figure, you know, so I just turned it all over and said help. You know, I started realizing, you know, where I belonged. I had to put 13 months in that jail, and it was 13 damn hard months because there was no program for drug addicts in there. You know, there was a fellowship that started in there about 6 months after I got there for alcohol addiction, you know, and I figured, well, I better use that, you know. I did have a smuggled in copy of the basic text when it was in the progress of being written, you know, and I used the hell out of that and hid it like hell, and I protected it with my life, because I found that I could sit in that damn cell in the middle of the night with three things: me, my higher power, and our basic text, and have a hell of a good NA meeting, you know. And it started giving me a little bit of that strength that I needed to get through that period. I walked out of there and knew where I had to go. I knew I had to walk back through that door and make that first initial step. And this was at 3 years clean. I found it out. You know, I found out that Narcotics Anonymous is the only thing that will work for me in my recovery. And I found out that I'd better get my ass back there or else I'm heading out again. And I knew that, you know. I walked out of that jail and found that, you know, my wife, who I'd just been married to like a couple of weeks before I went into that jail, you know, my second wife, by the way, you know, a lot of failure that in that part of my life. But, you know, I found that she was shacked up with somebody else, and you know, that was one of the problems I had to face, you know, living problem. And I found these bills coming out my ass, and I found, you know, no job, but I had a week to get one or else I'm going back. And, you know, I had all kinds of living problems, but I didn't care, you know. I was clean, and I was grateful to be out of that goddamn place, and I worked damn hard to stay that way. You know, I knew I'd better stay out of there. I didn't even think about getting high. Thought about the bridge, you know. Thought about, you know, maybe murder-suicide thing or something, you know. Those thoughts popped in, you know, and that was addiction itself, you know. But I talked about it, and I shared it, and I got back involved, you know, and I walked into that first NA meeting after I got out of there, you know, expecting all those things, again, you know, that I talked about. You know, expecting the daggers and the knives and the darts and, you know, the I told you so's, and all I got was open arms, you know. And where the hell have you been? We've been waiting for you, you know, and that's all I got. And I said, like, whoa, you know, I can't handle this. And, like, I choked up, and there was, like, tears, and there was, like, feelings that I can't express, you know, feelings that, like, man, where the hell have I been, you know? And gratitude started becoming my middle name, you know, because like I was damn grateful at that point to be given that opportunity to come back to this fellowship. Since then, I've learned a lot, you know, since I got back into Narcotics Anonymous. I took a commitment on for myself, for me, you know, to learn from that relapse, you know, and my first step on that was like that ego problem that I had, you know, the thing that started it all, you know. Right away, I wanted to jump back in, you know, hey, I got 3 years, you know, they need a GSR in this group, you know, I got a lot of experience in that shit, you know, I think I can handle it, you know. That's what I wanted to say, you know. But what I had to say was, whoa, you know, you say you got to be 1 year clean through Narcotics Anonymous to handle that position in my area, and you got to be a member of this group for that period of time. I don't qualify. I'm sorry. A year from now, come back and see me, you know. And I took that commitment on for 1 year not to touch service, you know. And boy, was I waiting, you know, because I'm a service junkie from way back, you know. And I waited till the day, you know, when I had 1 year back, you know, in Narcotics Anonymous. And, man, I started going gung-ho into it, you know, because I knew service was all that was going to keep me clean, you know, and I had all these little plans this past year, you know, what I'm going to get into, you know. But I had to remember, you know, that ego would screw me up again, and I didn't let it, you know. And I try not to let it on a daily basis, and the way I get help with that is by sharing it, you know. I let everybody back home know about my ego, you know, and I ask for their help to deflate it, because I can't do it alone, you know. I can't do nothing alone today. And a lot of times that ego starts grabbing hold, and I start becoming, you know, the omnipotent, you know, magnificent, and the only one that can handle this situation or that situation, you know, afraid to give up on, you know, whatever it might be. And other people tell me, whoa, you know. And they remind me of what I told them to remind me about, you know, that I got an ego problem that I got to work on, and I do, you know. I'm grateful for people back in my hometown. You know, I'm grateful that they know about me, you know. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to share with them, and that I can ask them for help, and it's there freely given. And I'm grateful, real grateful, to have been given that second chance that I was given. And I honestly, firmly believe for me that there ain't no other chances out there for me. I got to believe that today. And I'm just talking about today because that's the only way I can live this fellowship is today. Because for me, I don't think about using. I think about how I'm going to improve my recovery and how I'm going to reach out and share everything that I've gotten with another addict that's going to hurt. And maybe, just maybe, I can spare just one, the pain and suffering that I had to go through to find what I got today. And I've been given a hell of a lot today. And I feel really grateful to be here. And I'd like to open this up to, a few questions, which I'm sure people are going to have, that maybe I can help, or other people here, might be able to share. If anyone has any questions on relapse, recovery, on this aspect of our fellowship, or some experiences, we need to share with those newcomers that are wondering what they're going to do when that day comes. I'd like to ask you to come up and share with us as I call on you. And I thank you for listening. Saw a hand right here.
My name's Mia, and I'm a drug addict from Atlanta.
Hi.
As of today, I haven't experienced a relapse, and I'm real grateful for it. I believe that God, as I understand Him, puts people who are in the program who go on relapse in my life so that I can learn from them. I have an excessive amount of fear of relapse for myself, and there's been times where that's the only thing that's kept me from going back out is my fear. There's been a lot of times where I've been close to people who've gone back out, and I've had the problem with feeling responsible for it. That's my thing where I think I have control over people or something. And today I know I don't. And it's their choice. The only thing I know to do for myself so that I don't relapse, because there's been a lot of times where I've come close to it, is to change. And if I don't change, I'll die. And the only way I know to change is to work steps. One thing that I don't like is when people say, that they slipped, because it's like, I slipped and fell and my face fell in a bag of cocaine or something and I couldn't help it or something, and I don't like it. But I don't know. I can't and we can. That's all.
Thanks a lot, man.
I'm Mark, I'm an addict.
Hi, Mark.
I didn't plan on coming to this meeting, but I just came up here because I was bored and walked in and heard this cat talking about doing time after he got clean. And I've been clean like 5.5 years. I haven't had to use anything. But I was 2 years clean on like the 18th of February. On the 20th, they sent me to prison for burglary. And it was like in 1981. And I didn't really fear doing time. It didn't bother me. I kind of enjoyed doing time because you're under responsibilities. But what bothered me was what I use, because I know how it is in the walls. There's always something to get loaded on, and to deal with that whole scene. And I got in there and I found out I'd be a very unique individual if I didn't take nothing. Luckily, I had another fellowship I could go to once a week, and I found about 5 or 6 guys out of 100 that were working the program and really wanted to do something about their problem. And I had a great book in there that they sent me for my birthday, and that saved my ass. I found like relapse to me, it doesn't happen so much that I use something, but my mind and my spirit, I cut myself off from the people. I cut myself off from new ideas, and I get real sick. I found that, I didn't work the 6th step and they sent me to prison for it. That's the bottom line, man. And I guess I needed that to learn that. Kept talking about doing that time, and when he came out, nobody said, nobody told me like, oh, you're a real asshole, why'd you do that, I got that from people who weren't addicts, the people in my family that didn't understand, the people that, to me, don't understand recovery and addiction. The people in the program are saying, glad you're back, you know, glad you're here, you know, glad you're still clean, I love you, you know. And it's just like a miracle to me, and I was like coming up on 3 years clean. I didn't have a job, and they're starting to send me back to the joint for that, and I'm like freaking out, and they built a new bridge in downtown Akron. I'm figuring, no, I could make the headlines, I could be the first one to jump off of it, you know. And I walked across that bridge, and I got in the middle of it, and I was looking over the edge and out the river, and I'm thinking, you know, well, like, adios, you know, and I'm thinking, well, all they're going to do is they'll probably print my mugshot photo again in the front page and all that, you know, talk bad about me, how I'm a thief and a real asshole, and, you know, and that bothered me. I just kept walking and thinking, and two other times I was going to jump off 2 other bridges. I walked over that night, and I didn't, you know, because of circumstances. And it gave me, I was real cold when I got back to my place, and I had to kneel down in front of a register to get warm. It was like in the end of February. I was freezing my ass off, and I was down, and I figured, I just let it go, man. You know, I started praying, and I just felt like I didn't have to beat myself up like that anymore. I've gone through those changes, you know, later on in my recovery, and I don't think about using now when I get back into a car. I think about just, I don't want to go down a slow way, you know. I spent all those years dying slow, and now I just figured, well, I'll just, you know, go out and kill everybody I hate, and go out and blaze a gunfire and make the headlines or something. But even that doesn't appeal to me now, you know. Last summer I got so depressed I dove out of a moving car trying to kill myself, you know. And finally I decided, like, I have this problem dealing with that, so I sought help for it, you know. I went into counseling, and it helped me. You know, I couldn't find all the answers I needed for that in a program. I found it where I could get them. You know, now today, if I got health problems, I go to a doctor. You know, I got mental problems, I go to a counselor, and it helps me. You know, for whatever works. But just kept him talking, and just, man, this has been a very good convention for me. I just realized I can't remember how many conventions I've been to, but this is as good as the first one in Miami in '81. You know, and I just like to say I love you all, and I'm really glad to be here.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark, for sharing with us. You know, I just want to relate for a minute, you know, what you just shared. You know, the feelings, you know, after hanging in through all that, you know, the harder it is, you know, the more it lasts, you know, and the more it's worth. Because that's what it's like for me today, you know. I ain't about to throw away 5 years that I worked my ass off to get, you know, just for one night stand, you know. There ain't no way today, you know, and the harder it is for me, the better it is for me. And I'm grateful to hear you share that aspect for me. Thank you. Right back there.
I tell you, this man's got a lot of energy here. I'm Scott, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Scott.
And I'll tell you, this is the first time I even spoke at all around here, except for the people one-on-one. And I have come in here, we almost got in an accident. We almost got cut off by a tractor-trailer truck. And we were going about 60 miles an hour, and we were going down the road like that. And I tell you, at that point, I thought I was dead. And today, I have to live like I'm going to die tomorrow. So if I go out and I use, if you know, if I get complacent and I forget about what's happening, if I get involved with myself, if I get self-centered, I will, you know, I'm suicidal for sure. I don't care about my life. I didn't care about my life at one point. And when I get down to the point that I want to use, that I want to get blown away and, you know, just forget about life altogether, that's when I got to reach out. And it took me 9 months to bring a problem up in a meeting. And I started out in AA, and it was pretty intense when I learned about NA, because I didn't drink and I didn't do coke and I didn't do crystal, but I smoked a little bit of pot. And then once I realized that all of you people were not smoking pot too, I felt real bad. I froze, and I lied, and I said, yeah, I didn't do this, and then finally I came out and I said, December was the last time I smoked pot, There we go, So this fellowship and being here with this World Convention, this is my first convention ever. It's incredible. It's like a trip. I haven't had sleep since yesterday morning. I mean, it's incredible. I wanted to be there for that bid meeting today, even though it's not going to be around where I'm at, but I wanted to be there because it's so important. We got to carry the message, and we need to help keep these people. I have so many friends that I would love to see here, that I know would have a good time if they were sober. It's the most incredible thing that has happened in my life. And at one point, I was up in New Jersey, and I had a whole lot of trouble in my mind, and I was debating even if I was going to go back out and just forget about the program and give up everything that I had been working for. And I sat there and I had these headset on and I was listening to this song and I took that off and I wrote this poem. And I'd like to share it with you. And I know that the music flows through me from the higher power that I learned. And when I read this poem and I wrote this poem and I read it, I said, why can I not do this? The poem is, it goes, open spirit flow, move minds outward in, but not self-centered. Let it flow within. Share yours with someone. Let flowing love be one. Let flowing love be one. One continuous flowing love. And that was my higher power speaking through me and passing that on. Just at this convention, I had a little bit of trouble with somebody, and I heard Upside Down Rich here talking about it in the book that he was reading here, the NA Big Book here, the basic text. And I had this resentment. I had this. I was upset with somebody, and all of a sudden I realized that person had nothing to do with it at all. It was all within inside of myself, and I was beating myself for it, and I was carrying resentment. And when I realized that what this is all about is it's not all about me, it's for me to get better, but I don't have to carry resentment about somebody else. And when I went up to this person and I saw him today, and I just said, I apologized. I don't even know if I could stop apologizing to this man, because he is part of this organization that has pulled this together, and he understood. I really believe he did. But and after I did that, I felt so good. And I've been learning so much from all these people. People have just been just saying different things, like you're depressed, or, don't say that, or, leave me alone, or, and I'm a crazy guy, so I can't, and I know that my thoughts, my train of thought that flows, I can't stop that, but I can stop the action. And if I want to pick up a drug or a drink or anything, and if I think about it long enough, I probably won't do it, because all you people are here now, and I've learned that there are thousands of people that are right there, and I love it, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Love you. I'd like to hear from this young lady.
I'm Marie. I'm an addict from Florida.
Hi, Marie.
I was thinking about recovery and relapse. I haven't experienced a relapse, but until real recently, I don't think I experienced any recovery. I've been in an institution the last 14 months and just got out this week. And basically, I think I was just abstinent like some other people talked about. And now being around a lot of NA meetings, and this is the first convention I've been to, and it's wild seeing all these people straight. I never knew there was really that many people that could stay straight, and it really, I don't know, it gives me a lot of hope. And I think I'm just starting to see what recovery is about. And I thought things were so good, just not having to use, but this is so much different than that. And I really see a lot in everybody here that I really want. It makes me just want to keep coming back, and I'm real grateful to be here. And I think I get nervous talking in front of people too, but I don't believe there's so many people straight, and I really want to start getting more into recovery, because I don't think I have been yet. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. You were sharing about convention, and what it can do. These conventions can do a hell of a lot, for our recovery. And if it prevents one addict, from going back out there and hurting anymore, what price can we put on that today? It's all worth it for each and every one of us to be here. Come on.
I'm still Wendy, and I'm still an addict.
Hi, Wendy.
I want to ask a voluntary question. You don't have to if you don't want to, but how many people have ever had a relapse? Oh, I'm not alone, thank God. Yay for ununique. I knew I had one friend in here at least. I relapsed the first 3 months, once a month, when I first started this program. And I didn't have any commitment, dedication. I really didn't want to get clean. I just wanted to stop the pain. My life was a total mess, and I was still saying, I can fix it. I can handle this. I can straighten it out. And I was real paranoid. All these people were laughing and having a good time every time I went to the meetings. And I found this real sweet white-haired old lady that I thought, man, she'd be a perfect sponsor. She won't get on my case about nothing. She tore me up. 3 months, she whipped me in line. And I started out in California. And as I left California, about 2 years later, I came to Kentucky. And we didn't have NA in Kentucky up until about 2 years ago, almost 3 now. And I tried through another fellowship to stay clean. And I needed another addict to be my eyes and ears, and there wasn't one. I needed another addict to jump my case and keep my ass in line, and there wasn't one. And I proceeded not to work the program. And I took my life and my will back in my hands. And I proceeded to interpret the steps according to my understanding. Did not read the literature, did not call my sponsor in the other fellowship, and didn't pray. Decided to work, I could work 2 jobs and I'll fix my financial situation. Everybody else is being bums and not doing anything. I proceeded to work 2 jobs. I was always 15 minutes late for the last one because I was supposed to be off at 5 and on at 5 at the other. I started hanging around the usual people I used to know. It was a little late at night, and in 2 weeks I whipped myself into a real self-centered run riot and got pissed off, walked out of the house, and in Kentucky you can't buy on Sunday. The hell you can't. You're not supposed to be able to. Well, I went and bought,